Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. I've just finished this painting in Artrage 6. What I did, I took this sketch of the sheep that I did in Tayasui sketches a few weeks ago, and I imported that into Artrage and used that as the basis for my painting. So let's just get straight into it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do an oil painting, a sketch I did in Tayasui. The last video I did in Tayasui, I produced this sketch. So I'm just going to drag it onto the desktop of Artrage, and that should say, here we go, import to a new file, import to a layer. So I'm going to import it to a new file, and that is my sketch. So that's a quick and easy way of getting sketches that you've done into Artrage to use as the background. I could have sketched the whole thing out again, but you know, why reinvent the wheel? I've done it. I don't have to prove I can sketch it or anything. My sketch is there. What I want to do now though is resize that layer. So I go to edit, transform, layer contents, and I just want to get it to fill that canvas really. So that is going to be the size of my painting. I click on OK, and that's all good. And I want to use the original reference image as well. So I'm going to go to View, Reference Panels. I usually put a reference in, but I don't normally show you how I do that. So to do that, it's View, as I say, make sure you've got the reference panel checked, and then you get this little window open. You can click the little page with a pin in it, go to your images wherever they may be. So I know it's on my video files, so I can navigate to Tayasui and I can find the original photo there, which really takes a while to load in actually. There we go. I'm just using it for the colours really, because I've got everything I need about the detail in the sketch. I've also got it on another screen, much bigger, so I can see a little bit more detail if I want to get closer in and really see that. But this is just so that you can see what the colours that I'm going to work from. And once I've loaded that up, I can shut the reference window down and just drag that around and put that wherever I want. So I could put it there actually, because I'm not going to use the toolbox today, so it'll be out of the way. So I've got a layer with my sketch on. I'm going to create a new layer to paint with, and I'm going to use my oil brushes that I created. And I'm just thinking, the reason I was umming and ahhing then was I thought I should have made this as a tracing layer really. Let's see how I go. I could put it on the top. I don't know. I'll see how I go. Right, I'm going to start with some dirty terps. I like this as a way of just getting some colour on here really quick, and I guess it's not going to block out too much of this background. Changed up a bit. So I can still see that okay. There we go. That's quite nice in itself. So that's the dirty terps brush. Let's go in with we got which brush shall I try? Let's just start at the top, I guess. this, go back to the blue. That's not what I want really. I thought I got a let's try this late on thick. Oh, this is the one. The brush size is a bit big. There we go. I can get some nice thick brush strokes on now. If I press on hard, it's quite thin, so I can get it lose a lot of the texture. And if I paint really gently, I get this nice thick paint. I suppose really I ought to just come down here a bit and use thin oil paint as opposed to struggling painting on thick for that sky. There we go. And it's blending with this colour that I've already put on, which I quite like. I'm just going to switch to a palette knife just to see if I can smudge that out a bit. There we go. Then back to my brushes. I like this. I'm liking it. I think I'll probably do a lot of the painting with this brush and then go over where I want to put some darker colours. Just keep having a quick look at that. Now I can see it's changing quite drastically to the original sketch, but you know what? I think I am going to lose some of this detail in the background. I like the sky. I like the way I'm shaping this here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep sort of a blue grey, a bit more grey perhaps. Just put some distant bushes in here. Like that. And then a lighter colour. But maybe not quite like that, a bit grey perhaps. Back to the blue. There we go. Now come in with a green, I guess a dark green. I'm thinking I could sample straight off this picture if I wanted. Don't know if you know you can do that. You can load a picture into as a reference and then pick your colours off that. This is a nice brush. It's the thin oil paint, and I'm loving these textures we get in. If I zoom in a bit, that looks really delicate. About a week ago, I did a video on Corel Painter, and the comments were that it was, you know, really expensive. You can do you can do pretty much everything you want in Artrage, and people were suggesting that Critter for a free app can do everything. The only thing that Corel Painter can do, I think, that Critter can't do, is this thick paint, which is what I'm doing now in Artrage. Artrage can obviously do it. And Artrage is a lot cheaper, but Artrage is, for me, a little bit slower. It's a bit laggy compared to Corel Painter. But does it justify the price tag? I mean, I bought that. I bought version 19, I guess maybe 2 years ago. And I mean, that's not been without its problems for me. I had lots of bugs in it that I've had to sort out. And it's an expensive app for what it does. And there's a lot of features in there that you would never ever use, or you may never use, I should say. Not that you won't ever use. Just changing the colour down, putting a little bit of yellow in. For example, you can do this sort of render an image from a photograph where it sort of automatically paints that. Now, as a painter, I can't see you ever wanting to use that. It seems to me to be a tool that is more for photographers, where you could quickly render an image that looks like a painting. But if you're into painting, why would you use that sort of tracing feature? So you're buying that as well, you see. You're paying for that, and you might never use it. Some of the comments were quite cutting. Somebody put Corel Painter sucks. Didn't justify, or not justify, he didn't support his comments with any arguments why it sucked. He just said it sucked, which is, everybody's welcome to their and entitled to their own opinion. I think that was a bit harsh, maybe. I suppose it depends on what your experience is with it, I suppose, and what it costs. I wasn't very happy that it cost me so much money, and it was so laggy, and it took me a while to sort that out. So I'm mixing colours from picking some of them off of the photograph, and others I'm selecting myself. I'm sort of making them up. Now this has changed quite drastically from the original. I'm thinking, you know what, I could put a tree in and see it in my mind. Tree in here. So I've lost these tall, if I just click on this again, I've lost these row of trees at the back completely, just distracting. And I've discovered a tree here. It wants to be a bit less blue perhaps. These brushes are a little bit laggy. I think that's not so much to do with Artrage, but my designing of the brushes, and they do need reworking, I think. Then I need to look at them and just tweak them a bit. There we go. I like that. So I'm still sort of just getting in these painting over the initial wash I did with the dirty terps, but I think it gives you a good ground to start your painting, and the colours blend into it. I like this. I'm liking what's happening here. And I've changed this bush. I've kept it. I don't know whether to keep it behind the edge. And I'm thinking that edge might be a bit too high. That would be a really tall edge for that sheep to. I want to kind of break it up as well. It was like a straight line right cutting the page, and as you know, that's not good. That's better. That's sort of, I think that does what I want. Yeah, that's it. Let's get some of this grass in the foreground. I like this texture of this dirty terps, you see. I think that lends itself really well for the grass, and I might try and keep some of that. Don't forget, these brushes are free. You can go to my website. There's a link in the description below, and just grab a copy of the brushes. If you want to have a go with them. I've seen some artists say never ever pick colours off the photo with the picker, but I don't know. You know, if you're struggling or you're just starting off and you're not really sure, I think it's a good way to get going. And I've used them here just to kick me off, as it were. You know, with the painting, just to get it started. And then I've chose my own colours as well. There. That's it. Let's get a little bit of colour on these sheep. Do I create? I'm not going to mess about with layers or anything. I'm just really happy just to paint on one layer and let the paint merge together and blend. Just sort of putting a bit of something in there. I quite like that colour on the sheep, so I'm gonna I think I need to bring the brush size down a little bit. Yeah. Just following the contours of this sheet to get the wool in there. I quite like that it's picked up the green, the grass into the sheet. It's like the reflected colours. Making this sheep a little bit fatter. There we are, that's better. I didn't see that in the original drawing. This one, there's not a lot of detail going to be so far away. There we go. Right, I think I can use the different brush now. What's the late on thick brush? Oh, that's the really huge one. Thick oil overpaint. That sounds like what I want. I'll zoom in so you can see this. So you can see it, and it's putting on really thick layers of paint. And when I first discovered Artrage, and I realised you could do this thick paint, I would go over the old painting, absolutely cover it with thick paint, and I have to say that was a mistake. And really, I think you need to be a little bit more discerning and pick the certain elements that you want to have this thick paint on, perhaps. And not put it over the painting. There. See it going off here. Not that I can see it on the drawing anymore. I'm going to use the palette knife just to soften that off. There. It's cool. I like that. And maybe even just to knock some of them back as well. Look at that. I like that. Oh, back to my brush. I do like that when you swap between brushes and palette knives and other tools, it remembers your last tool, which is quite good. Pop that under there. I don't think you have to draw every detail of the legs or whatever. You can just give an indication. I use that palette knife again. I'm using the odd out smudge. I think that gives a nice effect. I'm loving the impressionist feel of this. I almost like leaving that sheet there with no... I don't think I'm going to put any textured paint on that one at all. Just get some highlights in. Maybe just a little bit of detail around this bush here. Back to my custom brushes. I'm just going to use this thick oil overpainting on here, just to put a few little bits of detail like that. I wonder if I could paint a few. I might put a few branches in with a palette knife actually. I'm definitely going to soften this off with a palette knife. There we go. So I need a much smaller, thinner knife. Kind of works. Make it a bit bigger again. Back to the paintbrush. I just made that bigger because when I come back into it, I'll have forgotten that I've made it smaller. So my original painting or sketch, I mean, I've kept the sheep pretty much with all the detail that was in the sketch, but a lot of the rest of it has changed. So you can see I'm putting paint on and then smudging it out with a palette knife. Could use that colour again, just to put a little bit of highlight on the sheet. Maybe a bit lighter actually. we go. A little bit of an highlight on that one, I think. Do you know what? I think that's it. I think that's it. I don't think I want to do anything else to that. Just tweak that a little bit. Wow. Definitely having the sketch already produced and painting over it has worked really well. I'm glad I did it the way I did and didn't create a tracing layer or anything. Just painted straight over it. It wasn't too much of a problem, but what I am thinking is that blue tree is a little bit too blue. I'm just going to go back to maybe the Dirty Terps, and I could just make the brush a bit smaller, change the colour up a bit. Just put some Dirty Terps over that. And now I've done that, choose the thin oil paintbrush. It's a bit big actually. There. That's better. That's it. I just got to sign it. So I assume somewhere along here. Let's use this square thick paintbrush. Make it small. Come down here. What colour we got? There we go. Finished. Well. Oh. I was going to say finish, but I'm finding this brush is quite nice too. Put a few branches in with this. This is the square thick paintbrush. Nice for just putting a few twigs and things. That's it. I have finished. I'm going to leave it. Thank you so much for joining me today and staying with me till the very end. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.